And it looks like Patreon is at it again, trying to change up their fee structure to something that works better for them, but not necessarily better for us creators. I'm going to put a video down below in the video description that talks about the last time they did this, which was not good at all. This one seems to be a little bit better, but still not great. So what they have done now is created 3 tiers of services for creators. The first one is going to be the light tier, which will be at the current 5% fee rate from Patreon, but it's not going to get you much. It's basically a payment provider with a website that you can use to maybe send out some posts just to your patrons, for example. They're taking a lot of the features that are currently on Patreon and rolling them into a new product called Pro. That's going to be a 5% fee for current Patreon users. But anyone new is going to pay 8%. So that's a pretty significant uptick. So as long as you're on the platform currently, it'll be at the same rate and you'll get pretty much the same features you had before, including membership tiers and analytics and everything else. And then they're going to add in a premium tier for 12%, which is a minimum of $300 a month. Which will give you a couple of other things like merch, a dedicated partner manager, and team accounts if you are a company and you want more than one person accessing your Patreon account. Doesn't seem like they're giving you all that much for quite a hefty amount taken out of your pocket there. But what really concerned me was the change to their payment fee structure for the actual credit card processing. So on top of that 5 or 8 or 12%, you also have to pay for the processing charges involved in having your patrons pay you. Now, one of the things that Patreon wanted to do last time was have you, the contributor, pay those fees. They're not going to do that here. But they made a pretty big change to their small donation amount. So they're going down to 5% plus 10 cents per successful pledge. And I wanted to show you what the old structure is that we're currently under and kind of contemplate why they're really taking a huge reduction in that processing fee here. So right now, if you were to pay me $1, they charge a 2.9% fee to me for part of the processing. There's also a 30% transaction fee on top of that for a total of 33 cents. So that makes it a 33% overall fee percentage, given that you have the 2.9% plus the 30 cents to get to what you see there. And then, of course, Patreon would take their 5% fee on top of that, and I would end up with 62 cents. Now, the new structure is going to cost creators significantly less on small contributions. Let's play out that dollar contribution once more. So let's say you paid the buck, and then they'll take their 5% processing fee, their 10-cent transaction fee, and that'll bring you to a total processing fee of only 15 cents or 15%. And then, of course, they'll have their Patreon fee on top of that of 5%. And under the new rules here, I would end up with 80 cents in my pocket versus 62. And that's a significant reduction, especially from a company that said they were completely unsustainable as they were currently configured. And it got me to thinking, were they getting a better deal all along on payment processing and just pocketing the difference there and just basically telling us the retail costs of payment processing? Because what they were listing as their processing fees for transactions is exactly what I pay to Stripe as a very small user of that payment processing service. And I thought all along they must have been getting some kind of bulk deal to get a better rate than the published rates that we typically see for small retailers like myself. And I don't know the answer to that, unfortunately, because I reached out to Patreon, asked them this question. They never got back to me, completely silent from them. So we'll have to just guess as to what's going on. But what I did do is take a look at my own Patreon experience here, because I am still taking Patreon contributions, although many of you have moved over to my donor box page. And as you can see here, 72% of my contributors are contributing $3 or less. So they would be under that new payment processing charge if Patreon extended that processing fee to all of the creators on their platforms. That's a big chunk of who's contributing to me. And I was curious because I wanted to know how many of those are contributing to people, to more than one creator at a time. And it looks like about 2/3, almost 70% of my Patreon contributors who are doing $3 or less are contributing to me and other people. And that's been one of the strengths of Patreon's current structure, is that the way their processing fee works is that if you gave $1 to 5 creators, Patreon would only charge you $5 once, not $1 5 times. And as you can see here, if you do the math, it actually works out great for the creators because they charge you a 2.9% transaction processing fee and then a 30-cent transaction fee. But that transaction fee, as you saw in our initial slide here, applied to that $1 contribution the same as it applies to the $5 contributions. So that percentage is diluted. So if you were to give me $1 and then give 4 other creators $1, the fee percentage that we're all paying together for your contribution is only 9% versus 33%. So you can see here the processing fee per creator is a lot less, and the creators actually pocket about what they would pocket under the new scheme here. And I think given what I'm seeing in my own experiences, Patreon is looking at this like, well, on the average, most people contribute to more than one creator. So rather than trying to do the math out for each of these creators they're contributing to, we're just going to assume that the average is going to be X, and you're all going to end up about the same. So Patreon might actually take a little bit of a hit on this, but I'm guessing the processing time and the staff time that it takes to figure out all of this stuff might actually be better for them in the end. And as a result, all of you who are getting $3 or less transactions will actually see a little bit more. And hopefully Patreon will allow current creators to be able to take advantage of this new processing scale. It looks like at the moment they're going to keep everybody on the old system, but eventually move them over to the new processing fee. And it looks like it'll probably be a wash for most creators, and this is probably not as bad as it was looking like when they tried to do their last big fee structure change. So this definitely does not look as bad as it did before. I will say, though, that it was disappointing for Patreon not to respond to me to offer the explanation that I just gave, because after doing my research, I can see how it might actually pan out. And it would have been nice to have had a company perspective on this, but they don't clearly find it important to talk to me about it. So we'll have to see where it ends up in the end. I don't know how well this is going to do, though, insofar as saving the company from its current situation. If you remember a few months ago, the founder, Jack Conte, said that they are not a sustainable business. And I suspect that a lot of people who sign up with Patreon are not going to go to those 9 and 12% tiers. They're going to stay on the 5% tier with just the basic payment processing functionality, along with the little website that they can maybe run. I bet you that a lot of people who are using Patreon's more advanced features are using them because they are there. And if they're not there when they sign up, I think they'll likely stay at the 5% tier, but time will tell. We'll have to see how it plays out. Let me know what you think down in the comments below.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters, the 4 Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.